Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for joining us. In tonight's edition, we are still going to be talking issues related to regional elections, and as few days back, we tried to find out whether the process of campaigning is objective. Today, we are trying to figure out whether the elections in the Northwest and the Southwest regions are democratic, and to discuss about this particular topic, we are having with us a political observer, Jerome, in the studio. It is not the first time that we are hosting him. Very often he is up for topic like such. Jerome, good evening, and thank you very much for being part of us tonight.
Good evening, Vanessa. Good evening, televiewers. It's always a pleasure to be on your program and share our viewpoints to the general public. Thank you very much.
Manga Venashus, are you extending your greetings again to the areas going for the election, or who are you extending your welcome today?
Thank you, Vanessa.
Because the whole of this week you've been greeting them.
Yes, because they are at the spotlight this week. It is greeting them and tasking them, challenging them to defend the interest of Cameroonians when they get into the regional council, because to the regional assembly. Because if they don't show a difference between the National Assembly, between the Senate, between the municipalities, then they are being, they are coming into existence, would have no impact in history. I think that they have to justify their place in history by, being those vectors of development of their respective regions and divisions.
Just to remind you, all of us, that elections are due to take place on December 6th. That is just a few days ahead. The Viewpoint is a debate program divided into two parts, the questions and the debate. For the meantime, let us have the first part. Regional elections in crisis hit Northwest and Southwest regions. Is it a democratic exercise? Jerome?
No.
In your opinion?
No.
No. Venashus?
Vanessa, I think yes.
Yes. And does the election have any bearing in the ongoing crisis in these regions? Venashus?
I think yes, it does.
Yes. Jerome?
Yes, as well.
Yes, as well. Let us have the debate. Democratically speaking, regional elections in a crisis hit Northwest and Southwest regions democratic. Jerome, what makes you think that it is not democratic, given that elections are due to take place in all the 10 regions of the country?
Thank you very much, Vanessa. Coming back to the word democracy, simply as we grew up, we said democracy is the government of the people, for the people, and by the people, which means the civic responsibility and right of the people are given to them to freely choose their leader without any fear of influence. Now, coming back, whether these elections are in a democratic exercise, I strongly believe that it is not in the Northwest and Southwest regions of Cameroon. First of all, in the regional elections, the people who are going to vote in these elections are the councillors, and most of the councillors are the elite of these two respective regions, who had fled these regions because of the ongoing crisis. Some of them are unable to go back and even do the campaign. Why? Because the separatist fighters, they have blocked the way for them. If you remember, I think 2 weeks ago, when the Cardinal and the phone of Nso were kidnapped, the Cardinal was released. The phone as well was released, but he was sent back to where he was coming from, that is in Yaoundé, because the objective of his return back to his palace was linked to these regional elections. Now, you will see into it that people who will vote, some of them will vote in hiding, which is no longer democracy. You freely express your voice in the ballot box in an election. And I see that democracy is not actually practiced. Some people will be guided by the military, by soldiers, in order to go and carry out their civic right, which means those who are not courageous enough to see a gun, a weapon, would not likely take part in this election. And one of the principles in a democracy is for you to freely make your choice without any force, without any influence, without any fear. But now the crises are going on. Sounds of gun here and there. I am not a seer, I'm not a magician, to tell you that when these elections will be coming up, probably on Sunday, these people, I mean the separatist fighters, they may surely organize what we call ghost town. It has always been, just like in 2018. And when it is ghost town, first of all, as I always say, the highest right to an individual is the right to life. And you will not risk yourself to come out and vote in the regional elections, and then maybe in the process you lost your life. Democracy is not practiced here. One, people to vote here are the elite. Most of the municipal councillors who are the people to vote in this election, they are the elites. And they are not living in their various municipalities, which is a factor against democracy. You must be versed with your locality, with your region. You know their problems, you know the environment, the terrain, because they are voting you to represent them, carry their problems, and even lobby for what? Solution. So these people are just coming for cosmetic or for their individual selfish reason to come and take part in these regional elections. Time back to the question, it is not a democratic exercise. One, some people are forced, some of these chiefs and elites who are forced to go back to their area, it is not out of their wish. It is out of a force beyond their individual desire that you must go. So much so that you take part in this election to convince the general public and opinion that people took part in the regional election, which is a step forward to the so-called, in quote, decentralization, the decentralization process. To me, it is not really democracy. They are still forcing people. It is autocracy, because these people, since the crisis started after 2017, when it was almost at the climax, most of these people ran away. I had a minister of territorial administration and decentralization. All the chiefs, go back to your villages. But as I'm speaking to you as of now, no, some of them cannot be in their villages. And some of them are municipal councillors, because I don't know how it's happening in our country. A chief is a municipal councillor, is a politician, whether we know that a chief is a father to all political parties. So, Vanessa, coming back to what we are talking about, it is not a democratic process. If you look at what this great guy of American politician, we call him Larry Diamond, he outlined 4 basic elements or principles that should constitute a democracy or a democratic exercise. And critically looking at it, none of it is respected here. 1, citizens are free to vote and host a government of their choice. That is the first thing. Number 2, you have like what? The free choice. There is no force that is pushing you to take action or to vote for whatever reason. And then you decide to vote or not to vote. And let me tell you, it is not a democratic, because I observe and discover that most of the councillors in the northwest and southwest are being controlled by the ruling CPDM.
Thank you very much, Kumchiru. We'll continue later on, but for the meantime, let us get the point of view of Mange Venashus. You conclude with your point. Mange Venashus, you rather think that hosting these elections in these 2 crisis regions is democratic?
Of course, Vanessa, I think that it is democratic in the sense that when you look at the this regional election, let's look at the constitution of the electorate or the electoral college. The electoral college is made up of municipal councillors, actually, like Mr. Kum was saying. And if you look at it, there were no restrictions to say that no, you are not going to stand for the election. It was open for any legalized political party in Cameroon that could table a list. Remember, it is an election that is not like open for individuals where we talk of independent candidates. No, you must be under a legalized or an official political party in Cameroon. That is, you must constitute a list under a political party, and all legalized political parties were free, to set in their own candidates. It was not limited. If we take, for example, the Northwest region that has only the CPDM, and we call it is not democratic, then we are mixing two things. It is not democratic. Is it because they instituted some kind of barriers or prohibitions that other parties should not prohibit and should not participate, and only the CPDM party should participate? I don't think so. We'll go back to the roots of these parties. During campaigns for municipal elections in February, some other parties decided to chicken out of the race.
To boycott. To
boycott it. And once you boycott participating in municipal elections that will produce councillors that will subsequently vote in regional elections, there is no, we don't talk of lack of democracy in this issue. You were free to participate as you were free not to participate. And you opted not to participate. If you don't participate, automatically you're already setting some limits and barriers to yourself. Nobody said you should not participate. Because when we talk of politicking in any society, you must be able to read ahead. Because it is like, if you don't apply to be a candidate, don't expect to cry foul in an election that you did not participate. It is, first of all, apply, put your candidature, and then after the exercise, you can then complain as a candidate. If you don't apply, and in the subsequently, those who applied are those who are participating in subsequent elections, you don't expect to figure in. Now, in the Northwest region, for example, there has only one list. I don't think that that other political parties of the opposition brought in their own list and they were rejected. If they were rejected, then we can now talk of cases of undemocratic, practices in this election. Only the CPDM postulated, and their documents went through all the scrutinies that were did or that took place or that went through with all the other lists, and they validated their list, and that is why they are going in for the election. So
since one party is represented, why are they voting?
You must carry, even in normal elections, when you have only one candidate, participating, we must carry out the election, because that is democracy here. That is democracy, because democracy is we must go to election. There's a difference between voting and popular acclamation. As a follow-up of your question, now if just simply say that because it is CPDM and they are the only they're the only list, automatically they have won, is wrong. The fact that I'm a councillor of the CPDM party in the Northwest region does not oblige me to vote the very candidate of the CPDM party. I can decide there and put a void ballot box envelope, and my voting will be null and void. That is why in every election they must not decide to count only those that we have. You must make sure, because they know the number of those who are supposed to participate. That's what we call the electoral college. They know those who are supposed to the number of voters. And once they are counting, they must count those who are absent. They count the ballot envelopes that are null and void, and then they count the valid ballot. I can decide and go there because I don't have any other candidate that I could give my vote to. I put an empty envelope. That is democracy. It would be undemocratic if we decide to insist that because it is CPDM, they have won. it doesn't follow that because I have A, B, C that make up the list for the CPDM, I don't trust them. I am a councillor of the CPDM. I don't trust them, and I'm not going to vote for them. But I must participate because it is my responsibility, my obligation as a councillor to vote. So when I go there, because I don't trust him, I won't put the CPDM ballot in the envelope. I would take an empty envelope and go and insert it. I have participated, but I have not supported this candidate. That is what we mean by democracy. Another thing, we are talking about the constitution of participant. Like I said, they did not stop any other party from participating. People decided to think that it is not possible. Vanessa, in this election, if we have not learned our lessons, I think that we would always remain in the complaining team. We will always remain in the background, and like the word that suits those parties, it will be in the opposition camp. It is clear from 2018, we started saying that presidential elections will not take place in these two regions, and they took place. In 2020, with municipal elections, we said elections will not take place. They took place. Legislative elections, we have parliamentarians from these two regions. We have councillors from these two regions. Those who decided not to participate in the elections in February, they are now complaining. Nobody stopped them from participating.
Yes, Mr. Venatius, when you say going back to 2018 elections, those who decided not to participate was not willingly. There were forces beyond them. You couldn't expect somebody in the forest who is running for his or her life, because I remember the SDF, which has as its stronghold the northwest and southwest regions, went in for these elections. But most of the people who vote for the SDF party, they were in the bush, in the bushes. Most of the people, as I know, the military who were around, they had to vote for maybe the ruling party. So the existence of the CPDM as the lone political party, maybe in the northwest region, is a clear proof that we don't have democracy in Cameroon.
Okay, Mr. Kwon, there's this issue, that we always think that because the SDF party was founded by an Anglophone, it is an Anglophone party, and they have their backyard, it should be the northwest and southwest region. I have lived to, to think that thesis no longer holds. I take, for example, when the pioneer badge of senators were introduced in Cameroon here, the Anglophone crisis had not started. And it is surprisingly that Ni John Frundi postulated to be a senator in his own native village and was defeated in his village. That is, if your brothers and sisters could not vote you in your own municipality, in your own division, then who would you expect to vote out of the division?
All right.
That is just to say that.
But we are not discussing within that context, Mango Venatius.
That's just to cancel the notion. That's just to cancel the notion that because of the crisis, the opposition party, for example, SDF, could not win because those who were supposed to vote them were out of the were in the bushes. No, the reality here is, even in your own backyard, even in your own home, even in your own municipality, your brothers and sisters may decide not to vote for you, like they did with John Frundi when there was no Anglophone crisis. He has never been a senator, and if we could go by that basis, John Frundi would have been elected in his own native village.
Yeah, actually, Mr. Venatius, there is always a strong hold, not maybe out of maybe ethnic tendency or tribalistic tendencies. If you look at the party of Adamunda Mjoya or the rest, it had a stronghold in the west region,
of course,
around the known,
of course,
and the Adamawa,
all right,
for obvious reasons.
Gentlemen, let's not go out of the context. We are working on time, and so let us take a second question, because we are moving out of what we are discussing here. Regional elections in the crisis region. Is it a democratic exercise? You have gotten the opposite views of Komjero and Mange Venatius. Does the election have any bearing in the ongoing crisis in these regions? Komjero, we think that it has some bearing. So how is it going, or how it's going to affect, or is it going to bring any change in these regions? Are you hoping that these regional delegates will bring relative peace? Because all the time we talk of that venturing resolutions have taken place, and yet we are still seeing the same situations reoccurring over and over.
Yeah, Vanessa, sorry, I was almost talking of Venatius. Vanessa, the truth is that these regional delegates, they are the elite who for 4 years they are the elites from the whatsoever part. But I know in the Northwest, the stomach is CPDM.
Of course.
For 4 years, they have been unable to bring lasting solution to the ongoing crisis. I mean, 4 years. I don't think it will be for this period of time that they will have something new to offer. These are people who still strongly believe in the outcome of the major national dialogue, which in the eyes of many saw it as a fatal failure. That is why after the major national dialogue, the killings increase. So these regional elections, as an impact, I know that the wrong people, that is, the choices of the people will not be voted. And as a result, there will be conflict in ideologies of development between these regional delegates and the population. Because the cry of the population is bring an end to the Anglophone crisis. If there is peace, other developmental issues will follow. So the wrong people will be voted into office. Why? Because the popular choices of the people are not there. And also because in the CPDM, there is what they call party discipline. As Mr. Venatius was saying that I go and vote an empty ballot box. If you vote it back in the party, they will discipline you squarely. They say, we have given you this person. Vote for him or nothing. I saw it in Douala. Yeah, one popular guy was presented, but party discipline said, this is our choice. The party has presented this person, so you don't have any option than to vote for that person. So Vanessa, coming back to that, it will have a negative impact on the population of the Northwest and Southwest, because a rectangular peg is put in a triangular hole.
So we should not expect that these regional delegates will come out with some solutions that could lead to lasting peace. Mange Venatius, your point of view, what are some of those bearings in this crisis?
Thank you. There are certain things that we need to clear here, please. You know, very fast for time constraint.
3 minutes.
We're talking about party discipline here. Political party is just like every organization that has their norms, their rules and regulations. When we talk about party discipline here, there is no political party member or hierarchy who would go and stand in the, during elections to find out who is voting what. If there are 48 councillors in this division, once we go into where elections will take place, they expect to have 48 votes in the box, in ballot box. Now, everything, if you follow what Elekam said in the recent declaration, all voting materials are ready, which means every voter has an envelope. And once I am bringing my envelope, you don't know what is inside. You don't know whether it is empty or it is occupied. And once I come and I slip my envelope into the box, who would they identify as?
Mange Venatius, does the election have any bearing in the crisis? Of course,
it will have. It will
so what are some of those bearings?
Do the bearing, and the bearings to me are positive.
Okay.
Because when we talk of being positive, it is a fact that we accept that our elected representatives had failed. I'm talking of MPs, I'm talking of senators. They have failed to represent the aspirations of Cameroonians. That is not a disputed fact. It is a fact that our elected representatives, like mayors, have, some say they failed, some say, I always think that they have not been given the opportunity to put into action or to put into practice, their ideologies. Yes. So in that other context, they have also failed. So MPs, senators, mayors, they have failed. Now we are having the introduction of regional councillors as another way of, we are saying it is decentralization. If these councillors are coming in this time, I think that conscious of the political stakes that we have in Cameroon, the political climate that we have in Cameroon, they have no other option, no other choice than to bring about the needed change and development that we need in our regions. Remember, the election of these regional councillors, they are not only being done in the Northwest and Southwest regions. We are not electing them to solve the Anglophone crisis. No. We are electing them like in every other region of the country for developmental purpose. Remember, we are talking about decentralization here, bringing out competencies to the local, territorial collectivities. And these regional councillors, they would, for example, because we are talking about the crisis hit Northwest and Southwest region, they have the duty to bring in, to adjust that concept of marginalization. If the Anglophone crisis is what it is today, it is because we spoke of marginalization. Marginalization in terms of development. And having gone through what we've gone through for 4 years, these regional delegates will have no other option than bring about this development. We are talking about fostering of development in the various regions, right? Once they go there, they are able to study it from the viewpoint of those in the regions, not studying it like MPs who will still have to go and sit in their, in their session and deliberate. They are going there now at least streamlined. I set aside, councillors who would think for the good of
But will they have the upper hand to effect this development you're talking about?
We are putting in a new concept called decentralization, and according to decentralization that we are talking about, they are expected, they are assumed, they are, we think,
because
we believe that they will have it.
Because we hope that they'll also be having the powers to manage the budget of the region or the affairs of the region. Anyway, like we said, we think.
Of course,
thank you very much for your contributions.
We have to give them a benefit of doubt.
They have been given the benefit of doubt. Elections are due to take place on Sunday, December the 6th. So what could you tell these regional delegates that will be voted into office? Well, especially those in the Northwest and the Southwest regions.
Well, those in the Northwest and the Southwest region of Cameroon, the greatest cry of the people is a return to peace. As they are going into office, because there is nothing to hold them back, the elections will take place. Let them try their possible best to bring peace, so much so that life come back to normal in these two regions, because I've been unable to go back to my village for the past 3 years.
So many of us will be happy going back there. Thank you very much, Kum Jerome. Like you cry for a lot of almost all Cameroonians are praying that peace returns back to these two regions. Thank you very much, gentlemen, who have come to the end of today's edition. Thank you as well, viewers of DBS television, and in particular special viewers of Viewpoint. It has been a pleasure having you. Do stay tuned and have a blessed weekend in the company of programs on DBS television. Goodbye.